Welcome everyone to the final presentation. My name is Sindhu, and today I'm going to talk about the group size and the bystander effect in virtual knowledge sharing. I'll explain what is knowledge sharing, its benefits, impacts on economy, opportunities, challenges, and various other dynamics of virtual collaboration. While talking about knowledge, I'll be dropping a lot of knowledge right here. So hey, please focus because it's free. Knowledge is theoretical, practical understanding of a subject. Knowledge on the same topic. It can differ from person to person. It can be shaped both internally and externally. So when you go to school and learn something, it's an external shaping of knowledge. But when you learn it all by yourself, that's internal. There are three types of knowledge. One is tactile knowledge, another is explicit knowledge, and as we can see, the third one is implicit knowledge. Tactile knowledge is difficult to express, communicate in words. This includes personal experience, insights, and skills. It is often shared through face-to-face interactions. For example, you see here these birds. They are not documenting anything. They are simply learning from each other through face-to-face conversation. Or for that matter, storytelling. That's also another way of gathering knowledge, and that's a tactile knowledge. Explicit knowledge is usually easy to document. It's more organized and easy to share as well. This includes facts, procedures, process. It is often shared through written documents. For example, this presentation. Implicit knowledge is embedded in an organization's practice, processes, and culture. It is difficult to identify and capture. However, it can be shared through experiences, traditions, and cultural practices. Knowledge sharing is the process of exchange of information or expertise between two people or multiple people, teams, and organization. It is one of the key components in knowledge economy. Let's say there is a world which Newton understood the law of gravity, but he decides not to share that knowledge with anyone. As per Indian mythology, not only birds, but human could also fly before apple actually fell on Newton's head. Isn't that interesting? And Greek philosopher, they thought that object fell because they are made of four elements like earth, air, water, and fire, and they have a tendency to move back towards their natural places. I'm sure Newton made every kid's life miserable. World was a happy place, and people carried heavy loads with ease. They built pyramids, and everyone now is cursed to walk on earth. But now this knowledge is a universal principle for most of the innovations and discoveries. So we are definitely thankful for him for sharing this knowledge with us. The question is, why knowledge sharing is so important? As I said, it is a key component to the knowledge economy. Digital world of website and mobile applications, knowledge sharing isn't a big deal. There are different technologies which are already in place. Knowledge sharing leads to increase in knowledge economy, which leads to rapid research, product and process innovations, the development of new medicines, and we are also increasing the use of 3D and robotic surgical aids. What if all these knowledge were not shared? Will it not have an economical impact? A research shows that on an average, employees are wasting 1/5 of their time looking for the knowledge that should be readily available. Do you think it is efficient? Well, with the right practices in place, there are many things that can be improved. First, for example, human capital, which is the number of skilled labor, knowledgeable and experienced people, which is considered as the center of economy, that increases. We have already spoken about product and process innovation. It is important that employees are aligned with company's goal and mission. Since the knowledge is shared here, it helps to create a cohesion and boost the engagement at work. Organizational efficiency, it puts an end to the scattered knowledge by bringing all the resources into one place, which boosts the productivity and cuts down on the repeated mistakes. It fosters collaboration. People want to talk to each other and they are feeling motivated by sharing their knowledge. Well, it definitely impacts the economy. In this graph, we can see higher the knowledge sharing, higher is the innovation. Let's take an example of Google, which is famous for its search engine. And what does it do? It is known for its speed, accuracy, and relevance. When you search something on Google, it looks through hundreds of billions of web pages and other content stored in our search index to find helpful information. They invested in search engines. Exactly to do what? Provide free information, but how are they making money through it? Well, they are charging the vendor companies who is using those search pages to show their ads. People may or may not be interested in those ads, but who doesn't want free information? Google is charging vendor companies just to show the ads, but it's attracting the users because of its information offering or so-called knowledge sharing capability. Isn't that an interesting way of making money? After pandemic, rapid changes occurred in society, which forced countless organizations to rely on technology and virtual teaming to conduct day-to-day operations. The shift to remote work made organizations realize the importance of effective knowledge sharing and management. Despite its numerous benefits, the effective knowledge sharing in a virtual environment comes with its unique set of hurdles. On an average, US businesses loses somewhere from 2.7 million to 265 million in productivity. Of course, depending on the size. Well, some major challenges were communication barrier. With all the team members working remotely, there could be a lack of direct communication, which might lead to information gap. So, an organization must have the technology to utilize knowledge management tools and platforms that allow easy collaboration and information sharing. Examples like Trello, Slack, Google Workspace, Microsoft Teams. The organization should conduct regular training sessions for the team members to ensure that they are familiar with the tools and the platforms to use for knowledge management. This can prevent the technical glitches and improve efficiency. Organizations also faced engagement issues, which can be challenging to keep remote employees engaged and motivated. Well, there is definitely a need to promote a culture of knowledge sharing. Fostering an environment that encourages the team members to share their knowledge, insights, this can be facilitated through regular virtual sessions, brainstorming sessions, and knowledge sharing forums. Information overload. So what does it mean? With so much of information that is available for a team to navigate and find what they need. To avoid an information overload, we should try to implement a robust system that organizes the information in a structured and easy to navigate manner. Cyberbullying are one of the prime. When it comes to online communities, the presence of bystander is high. They observe, but don't actively participate. In a real life roadside incidents, we have often seen video of crowd who record fights, crimes, rather than intervening to stop or calling the police. A recent example in an anti-Asian attack against a woman who was walking down the street and was suddenly violently attacked by a male assailant. Reports and cameras show that several men stood by while the attack was happening, and yet no one intervened. According to Panopto Workplace Knowledge and Productivity Report, inefficient knowledge sharing costs large businesses huge amount per year. Considering that report was published pre-COVID, that the number could be rapidly higher in today's terms. It is concerning that employees spend around 26 days each year searching for information, which is valuable time that could be undoubtedly better invested. Knowledge management technology has typically been viewed as a privilege for enterprise-size organizations that could afford the product and implement it, which in return can support the people to ensure the uptake. These days, increasing attention is being given to the knowledge management and sharing tools for entrepreneurs and organizations looking to scale across a number of industries. Even though we understand its importance, the real question is how it happens. What causes it? Well, bystander effect occurs when the presence of others discourages an individual from intervening into a situation to help another person. Greater the number of bystanders, less likely it is for any one of them to provide help to a person. Well, what causes it? Maybe there is an ambiguous situation, and me as a bystander, I am not aware of the situation. While two people are fighting, I may consider it as a love quarrel rather than thinking of it as an actual assault. Bystanders rely on the overt reaction of others to define ambiguous situation. If other appears to be unconcerned, the individual may assume it's not an emergency and refrain from helping. The researchers have found that onlookers are less likely to intervene if the situation is ambiguous. Well, that's what happened in Kitty Genovese's case. Another core reason is diffusion of responsibility. When there are more people present, individual feels less personally responsible to act because they assume someone will intervene, reducing the likelihood that anyone will actually help. Because there are other observers, individuals do not feel as much pressure to take the action. The responsibility to act is thought to be shared among all of those present. Bystanders subjectively divide the personal responsibility to help by the number of people. As the group size increases, individual feels less responsible. There could be social influence as well in place, which could be one of the main reasons behind. When in a group, we monitor the behavior of those around us to determine how to act. If others are not responding to a situation, we may interpret it as a sign that intervention is not needed. So let's say someone in a group chat is asking for help, and I see my senior is not responding to that. It means I have a social influence and I may also not respond to that. Another question is, will I be judged if I do something? That's fear of judgment. The fear of making a mistake in front of others can prevent us from acting. The fear of publicly being judged can prevent bystander from helping. I personally may hesitate, assuming that others will step in or feeling less responsible when they see others present. The last and the worst reason could be not my problem. Well, if it's not happening to me, it's none of my concern. It is not assigned to me, it is none of my concern. Because people don't have time to do things unless it is assigned to them. Isn't that correct? And applies to all. Although it looks so simple and common, there are several dynamics because of which an employee or management can miss the opportunity to share the knowledge in their organization. The reason each time could be changing, and it's worth mentioning because it's a socio-technology perspective, because not only it needs effective technology, but also a relationship between the trust and self-efficacy as an outcome expectation. Benefits being unknown. As a person who is proactively sharing the knowledge but suddenly stops, have you ever tried to find out why? Because simple, the question is, why to share something when you're not benefited from it? That's a common thought. Why do I do something extra if I'm not getting any benefit? Is there an incentive system in place? Insecurity. Let's assume that due to financial issues, an organization is downsizing. People might fear that if they reveal the knowledge, an organization may no longer need them. And let's be honest, deep down we are all insecure creatures. Imposter syndrome. People are afraid that the knowledge is outdated or irrelevant. That's why they're not reluctant to share it. In their opinion, their knowledge doesn't add any value, or worse, they think that it may even harm the quality. I have seen a lot of people that when a group of young crowd joins an organization, the old people take a backseat, thinking that their knowledge might be outdated, not knowing what you know. If you're not aware that you possess a relevant knowledge, you cannot share it. And last, but very dangerous, is the lack of correct technology. Having a center for knowledge sharing is everything. If people don't have the correct user-friendly tool, their motivation to use it will decrease to zero. And as an organization, you definitely don't want to have that. Now let's assume another scenario. You have the right technology, you have the right process, and you have the right attitude from the employees. It means there is no bystander in place. Is there anything else that can impact? Answer is yes. It's group size. Group size indicates the number of players who are part of the game with possible strategies. And we all know the strategies gets complex when the number of people participating in a game increases. As per research and practitioner, larger group increases the response rate, velocity of receiving a response, and the quality. But on the other hand, bystander effect suggests counterintuitively that size influences the response quality, and it has a negative impact of social inhibition, and it might decrease. There is an old saying which we all believe: too many cooks can spoil the broth. Bystander effect suggests that with an increase in group size, the likelihood of helping decreases as the complication increases. Usually, more hands you have in a project, the more trouble you invite, because you have too many different opinions and visions in play. Unless you have a high amount of specialization going on in your project, the best teams tends to compromise of 5 or less people. Any more than that, and you start to get into each other's way, or notice that some people slow their output to trickle. Larger groups are associated with decreased performances, poorer social interactions, and less information exchange among members. The rate of failure for collective cooperation increases for larger group, along with a rising bystander effect. A decrease in the average contribution. More players choose to be bystander who strategically contribute less. If you see, when you have 2 people, they need just 1 channel for communication. If you have 3, there are 3 lines. But if you have 4, there are 6 lines of communication. On the other hand, the worst could be having 5, where you need 10 lines of communication for everyone to be on the same page or on the same level of knowledge. To understand the significance and impact of group size, Latané and Darley did an experiment in 1976. The likelihood of bystander helping someone having an epileptic seizure decreased as the number of bystanders increased. So, an employee may be aware of certain information, but employer may not be, and that is one of the worst situations because they choose to act as a bystander. If information spread among employees, an individual may be reluctant to step forward and voice the information to the manager. But people choose to stay silent and avoid speaking up to the voice concern, ideas, opinions relating to their work. Let's take an example of a simple group chat. If a question is asked in a larger group, it is likely to receive less response as compared to the number of responses in a small group. And there are 3 reasons behind it. People have time to do the task only which is assigned to them, if it has a due date, and if it is going to be reviewed. So if either of these 3 conditions do not meet, which is if it's not assigned to them, if it doesn't have a due date, and if it's not going to be reviewed, it is less likely that the tasks will get completed. Organizations can prevent bystander effect by training their employees, developing the skills, awareness, and the courage to intervene when someone needs help. Being aware of the discriminatory situation, assuming the responsibility for taking an action, deciding how best to intervene, and then taking an action. This kind of summarizes the 5 Ds for intervening as a bystander. So direct. If you see something, do something, give a command, or take an action. Distract. Try to talk to the person who needs help. Ask about the details or the information he or she needs. Delay by taking a moment to figure out the best course of action. If you are unsure on how to help, delegate and follow up later. Delegate if it's not in your capability. I mean, not everyone is the master of everything. So ask for help and direct the person into the right team or direction. Document. If you are redirecting the person in need, please document it by sending it over the email. Preventing the bystander effect also involves fostering an environment where the participant feels empowered, comfortable to contribute. Well, here are some strategies to encourage an active participation. Set clear expectation. Define the roles, clearly outline each participant role and expectation. As I said, people only have time to do what is assigned to them. So, to reduce ambiguity, encourage an engagement. Encourage accountability, making it clear that everyone is responsible for contributing to the discussion and knowledge sharing. Use structured formats like breakout sessions, round-robin sharing. Use smaller breakout groups for discussion, where individuals may feel comfortable for speaking up. Implement a round-robin format where each participant is given a specific time to share their thoughts. Create an inclusive environment by active facilitation. Have a designated facilitator who actively encourages quieter members to share their insight and ask direct questions to involve everyone. Use icebreakers. Start a meeting with funny jokes to foster a relaxed atmosphere. I mean, that's what I do for my everyday meeting. Encourage anonymity. Anonymous polls or surveys are always the best one to understand what your team is going through. Use tools that allow anonymous contribution to gather input from those who might hesitate to speak up. Anonymous Q&A. Build the trust and rapport with the team. Engage in team building activities to strengthen the relationship and trust among the participant. Recognize the contribution. If you're not recognizing, you are just creating a bystander. Acknowledge and celebrate individual contributions to foster a sense of belonging and value. Provide training, skills development, especially the bystander effect awareness. Educate the participants about the bystander effect and its impact on knowledge sharing, emphasizing the importance of individual contribution. Well, as we go through, there are many ways to prevent it, but limiting the group size. As I said, keep the group size smaller to foster more personal connection and encourage participation from all members. The last but not the least, lead by an example. Leaders and facilitators should model the desired behavior by actively participating and encouraging the discussion, demonstrating that sharing is valued. By implementing these strategies, organizations can create an environment that mitigates the bystander effect and promote active engagement in the virtual knowledge sharing. By now, we definitely understand the economic impact of the bystander effect in virtual knowledge sharing can be significant, affecting the productivity, innovation, employee satisfaction, and overall organization effectiveness. By fostering an environment that encourages the participation and knowledge sharing, organizations can mitigate the economic risk and enhance their competitive advantage. Latane and Darley in 1970 formulated a 5-stage model to explain why bystanders in emergency sometimes do and sometimes do not offer help. The 5 stages are: you must notice that something is amiss or someone is in need. You should interpret and define the situation, assess how personally you are responsible, decide how best to offer an assistance, and definitely act on that decision. Because the worst thing you can do is do nothing. So stand, speak, and act. That was all from my end. I hope you learned and enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and my UTA email ID mentioned on this slide. I'll be more than happy to help. And thank you for your time and attention. Have a nice day.